Okay, so really quickly before we get into this video, I just wanted to clarify that these 7 tips are for anybody regardless of where you're applying as a transfer. So I think that these 7 tips are helpful for people that are applying to universities with a 40% transfer acceptance rate or a 4% transfer acceptance rate. Also, when I use the phrase top 10 university, I am not at all emphasizing the importance of rank, because I think that the ranking of the university is the least important thing about it. There's so many other amazing things that you could be focusing on. And it is also easier to use the phrase top 10 university rather than simply naming all of the universities with a less than 7% acceptance rate. And that is for the people that feel like their home is at a university that has less than 7% acceptance rate. If you read the title of today's video, you know that I'm going to be sharing 7 tips on how to transfer into a top 10 university. These 7 tips are basically a product of me reflecting on my own transfer experience and my own transfer process, as well as talking to all my other friends about their transfer process. Yeah, and basically I wished a video like this had existed when I was transferring, just because it would have saved me a lot of time and energy and stress. And if anything, I hope that these 7 tips help to guide you, but I also hope that they give you confidence and motivation and a sense of reassurance. So yeah. Also, just a really quick disclaimer, I feel like I don't even need to make it at this point, but I will anyway. These 7 tips are not guaranteed to get you into a top 10 university as a transfer student, but I hope that they help you. I hope that they guide you, motivate you, and give you a sense of reassurance. So yeah, I did use the Common App. I'm gonna get that out of the way. Let's get into the video. So my first tip is, do not waste your time retaking standardized tests like the ACT or the SAT in hopes of getting a better score and then submitting that better score as part of your transfer application. I don't think you should waste time with these standardized tests, just because if you think about the purpose of the ACT and the SAT, they're meant to test how a high schooler is going to perform at a college level or a college setting. And if you're planning on transferring, you've already done a year of college. And so if anything, your course load and your college GPA are going to say more about how you are going to perform at a college level compared to a standardized test that is made for a high schooler. Also, standardized tests are really time consuming. They're also pretty expensive, and you could be focusing on more important parts of this application, like your essay and your extracurriculars, and focusing on letters of recommendation. If you really want to take a standardized test, I would recommend putting your time and energy into taking the subject test. I think it's a great way to show your specific interest in a specific field of academia, and hopefully the subject test that you do choose to take, if you choose to take it, will align with the major that you are planning on pursuing. My second tip is to reflect a lot, because if you are thinking about transferring, or you know for a fact that you are going to transfer, it is probably because you are unsatisfied with your current college experience, and it is really important for you to pinpoint what exactly you're unsatisfied with, because doing this will allow you to write a really strong and really compelling essay and just strengthen your application as a whole. So a couple of things to think about might be academic rigor. Maybe you want a university that's really challenging and has a really heavy workload, or maybe you're not into that. Maybe you want a university that offers a lighter course load. Maybe you are experiencing issues related to the major that you want to pursue. I know that was a huge thing for me when I was transferring. The major that I wanted to pursue was simply not offered at my old university. I tried to make it work, but it just wasn't working. So I decided to transfer to a university that did offer that major. I also think you should consider the size of your classes or the size of your campus. Do you want a bigger class size and bigger campus, or do you want a smaller class size and a smaller campus? Is there a specific professor or program that you are looking for? Another thing to consider is study abroad. That was a huge thing for me. I knew that as a freshman in high school, that when I got to college, I wanted to study abroad at least one time. So going into the transfer process, I was looking for schools that had a really strong study abroad program. Other things to consider might be research opportunities, diversity, Greek life, and overall environment/location. And what I mean by that is like city life versus suburban life versus rural life. My third tip is about essays in general, since I feel like that is the most important part of the application. The first thing is, do not shit on your old university. Don't be mean about it. Don't say explicitly bad things about your last university. Just make sure you phrase it like you are grateful for that 1 year that you did at your old university, because it has taught you a lot about yourself. You were given a chance to reflect on specific opportunities that you were looking for, and how your old university doesn't have those specific opportunities, and how your new university or the university that you want to transfer to does have those opportunities. And yeah, I feel like as long as you have a clear and concise reason as to why you want to transfer and why you would be a good addition to the school you were trying to transfer to, you're all set. I feel like that would make a really strong essay. And personally, as for why I wanted to transfer, I was looking for my major the time, which was public health. So my clear, compelling reason as to why I wanted to transfer was because I wanted to pursue the public health major, and my old university simply just did not offer that. So when I was applying to universities, that is specifically what I talked about. But I also talked about opportunities related to public health. So I talked about how I would be able to specifically gain all the tools I needed to understand the human trafficking issue a lot better and figure out solutions and ways to ease that tragedy, but also opportunities related to public health in general, like study abroad opportunities, research opportunities, and like clubs and stuff that I could join. So that's why I wanted to transfer to certain schools. As for why I would be a good addition, that just depends on which school you apply to. So you want to do some research and see what each school values, in a sense. So, or the current university that I'm going to now really values like creativity, innovation, blending academia with the real world and creative solutions. And so I just implemented that, and I combined that with public health and the human trafficking initiative, and that is what I wrote about. Also, don't forget to have personality. Don't be afraid to just be you. Because if you are trying to be someone else and you are trying to do this because you think that is what the admissions board is looking for, no. Because honestly, the admissions board doesn't even know what they're looking for until they actually see it. So yeah, be you. A great example of that is one of my friends. He wrote this short answer essay for one of his transfer applications, and it was really funny. It was filled with food puns. And it did include, why he wanted to transfer, why he would be a good addition to the school he was applying to. But it also gave like a really good view into his personality. And the essay seemed like it was more than an essay. It seemed like I was actually meeting this person through their essay. For those types of things, I personally wrote about the human trafficking issue. Again, I pretty much wrote about that in every single essay because it means a lot. It's something that I was thinking about all the time, and it really impacted me in a lot of ways. The next part goes with what I was just saying, which is write about topics or classes or whatever that has impacted you in a certain way. Don't think that to have a good essay or a compelling essay, you need to be able to make the admissions board cry or feel depressed, because that is not the case at all. I think the really important part is that your essay is impactful and it shows who you are as a person. It shows what matters to you. And yeah, I mean, writing about something that is important to you and writing about something that has impacted you in a very specific way would make for a really strong essay. So yeah. You must have a central theme. This is the most important tip out of the 7. This is the most important part of the video. And if you take away anything from this video, let it be this tip. What that means is that your whole entire application, your essays, your short answers, your extracurriculars, everything you include in this application should tie back to the central theme. Now, a theme can be any specific interest of yours. So it could be a hobby, It could be like a class, like a certain field of academia that you're interested in. It could even be like a world issue that you either want to fix or that you want to learn more about. Regardless, it has to be specific and you got to be interested in it. So if you're still confused, I'm going to give you an example of an English major. If you're really interested in English, and hopefully you're not just vaguely interested in English, hopefully you have a specific niche within that field that you're interested in. So for example, like Shakespeare, feminist poetry, literature in the 1800s, whatever that might be, hopefully it's specific within that field of English. That would be your central theme. Any essay that you write, any short answer that you write, any extracurricular you include, any clubs you include, you want to make sure all of that ties back into this theme of you as a student interested in a specific field within English. Little story time, when I was in high school, I did think that this well-rounded student is what colleges looked for, and because of that, I tried really hard to mold myself to that stereotype, and that did not work at all. For many reasons, but just need to remember that universities want a well-rounded class, but they want unique students to make up that well-rounded class. So focus on a theme, focus on a specific interest, and make sure everything ties back to that. Do not be afraid to create your own opportunities. Now, when I say that, I'm referring in specific to the extracurriculars section of the Common App, and if you want to transfer after your freshman year, meaning you would attend your new university your sophomore year, you really only have a few months to craft your application, put everything together, and submit it. So in this instance, it would be really smart to create your own opportunities. And a way that you could do that is to create your own website or your own blog. And I know that sounds really daunting and kind of scary and a lot more complicated, but it's not. I recommend using Wix or Squarespace because they're free and they're easy to use. If you are not into that creative life and you want nothing to do with that, don't worry, there are presets that are also free and really easy to use. But if you're like me and you want every single detail, like the way that you imagined it, you have full creative authority there too. I think it's a really good opportunity for you to show the admissions board that you have passions, you're not afraid to pursue them, you're out here creating your own opportunities, and I feel like that's really impressive, but also it gives you a chance to dive deeper into something that you really care about and something that you really love. Let's go back to that English example. If your central theme is, again, that English major, you're really interested in English, you want to apply as an English major, you also want to make sure your extracurriculars tie back into this theme. So the reason why I love the idea of creating your own website or blog is because it's really versatile. It's good for any theme that you want. And so for this English theme, you can essentially put your own essays up there on your website or blog. You could write short stories on there. You could upload essays that won prizes up there. You don't even have to upload essays. Like you could write book reviews on there. So there's a lot of stuff you could do with a website or blog that showcases your own personal and unique interests and passions, and super flexible. So I highly recommend that. You can also join a club. That's still really great. Keep it to 1 or 2 clubs so that you can really get involved and you're not too overwhelmed. And if the club that you want to join does not exist at your university, you can always create a club. Again, sounds more daunting than it actually is, but I'm pretty sure all you need is an academic advisor to sponsor you and sign off on your club idea. And you need a minimum of 5 members. So, take the initiative. You can also take extra courses. So if you were in my position and the major that you really wanted to pursue was just not offered at your old university, you can always take extra classes online that are free, either a local community college, you could take them on YouTube, you could take them on master classes, you could take them on a bunch of other websites that offer you free classes. That's not just for people whose majors are not offered at their university, that's for anybody. If you want to dive deeper into your course or you want to study a specific niche within your major or academic field, taking classes online to further your interest is a great way to create your own opportunities and include that in your extracurriculars section. Another way to create your own opportunity is pick cool and interesting jobs that are related to your interests. Now, I know that that might be a little bit harder depending on what your interest is. Like, for example, if you are interested in medicine and science and you want to go into the medical field, you really can't do anything or step foot into a hospital to shadow until you're 16 years old, and you can't do anything until you're like 18 years old. So, it depends. But again, back to this English example, a cool job would be like working at Barnes and Nobles, or maybe you could intern very briefly at a publishing company. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Do not be afraid to be creative, and do not be afraid to be unique. Tip number 6 is all about mindset, and in specific, the mindset that you need in order to go through the transfer process and gain from it as much as you possibly can. In my opinion, this tip is like one of the most important ones, along with tip number 4. Having a growth mindset and having a positive mindset will really make or break your transfer experience. Yeah, the end goal is you end up at a university that feels like home and that fits you almost perfectly, but it's also about growing as a person and getting to know yourself a little bit more. Going through that transfer experience allowed me to really reflect on the year that I spent at my old university. I learned so much about myself. I learned about what I valued, both academically and as a human being. I learned about what I really cared about in the world. I learned about the opportunities that I really wanted. But more importantly, I figured out who I wanted to be at the end of my 4 years of undergrad. I think that this whole transfer process is a great way to invest in yourself and be the main character of your own life, and to hype yourself up in front of a bunch of strangers on the admissions board. Mindset is everything. I hope that you do get into the schools that you want to get into, but I also hope that you grow as a person, and I hope that you're proud of the person that you've become after the transfer process. That was a little mushy, but mindset is everything, and it can make this process really enjoyable. It can make it a really good learning experience. It can be really inspiring, but if you don't have the right mindset, it can either be really daunting or scary, and you can be filled with doubts. So, okay. So tip number 7 is to visit campus if you can. I understand that COVID has made it really difficult for people to travel and unsafe for people to travel, but I also know that even without COVID, sometimes it's financially not possible for people to travel and visit campuses. So in those cases, I would recommend virtual tours through the university, or there are YouTube videos that are dedicated to campus tours. But if you have the opportunity to, and if it's safe, I would really recommend going on campus and seeing if that university really does feel like home. I say this because personally, there was this one university that I thought was my dream school. I thought, yeah, that's the place that I'm going to call home. But I got there, I got to the campus, and I felt really disconnected. I didn't feel like this was my home, and I had no special connection to it. And then a week later, I visited the university that I go to now, which is Northwestern, and I stepped on campus, and I was blown away by how much I loved this campus, how connected I felt to it. And obviously, it's not just about the comfort that you feel like being on campus. It's a huge part, but it's also being able to talk to your tour guides and potentially other students and asking them about their experience and getting to meet people that you wouldn't normally be able to meet. So when I was at the Northwestern campus, I got to talk to actual students. I got to talk to my tour guide, and hearing them talk about their experience at Northwestern really, really solidified the fact that I wanted to call that place home. You never know how much information you can get out of just visiting a place and being there in person and just having a conversation with somebody that goes there to see if you vibe with the type of people that are on campus. Okay, so those are my 7 tips on how to transfer into a top 10 university. I hope you enjoyed. I hope these tips were helpful. I hope they motivate you and encourage you and make you feel reassured. If you are curious, I applied to 6 universities as a transfer student, meaning I did my freshman year at my old university, and I'm planning to the next 3 years at my new university, and I applied to the University of Michigan, USC, Cornell, Brown, Northwestern, and Barnard/Columbia. If you don't know what Barnard is, it is essentially the Women's College of Columbia, but the reason I said Barnard/Columbia is because sometimes they do joint programs with specific majors, and the major that I was applying with at the time had that joint program, so I essentially applied to both. I got into all of them except for Cornell. I got rejected from Cornell, but in hindsight, I'm really not mad about it. Yeah, I got into all the other ones, did some more reflecting, and I narrowed it down, and ultimately I now attend Northwestern University. I think it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I just finished up my sophomore year, and I am, I guess, officially technically a junior now. I'll be starting my junior year in a few weeks, so that should be interesting. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions or any comments or anything like that, feel free to either leave them in the comment section of this video, or you can always find me on Instagram. And yeah, see you in my next video. Bye.